pages in length. Right, 4, 5, 6. 6 pages? 5. Alright. That's for a little under a month in, that's still big assignments. What class was that for? Is it all the same one? 5-page paper?
Mine was for public speaking, but it's just down a lot. So.
What's your paper for?
Exegetical for final week.
What was your paper for, computer?
Yes. I like that too.
The professors are really hitting us hard. And personally, I am drowning in homework. I actually was doing 4 assignments that were due this morning, just a little bit before I came up here. But you know, I've been able to do a good job for the most of it. And I'm happy with the work I put in. Sam and I, on our door, here in the guys' dorms, you've seen it, we have a whiteboard. And on this whiteboard, we have a rendition of the Jaws poster. And we have a guy up front and a shark getting ready to attack him. But the shark is labeled 4 weeks till midterms. And that's crazy that they're approaching so fast.
Yeah.
We have the rest of February, a week in March, and then we're back taking tests. I don't say, man, school's hard. This school's hard. But on the bright side, 2020's over. Yeah. And 2020, during the fall semester at Boise Bible College is over.
Nice.
I mean, it's fun.
And all our problems are over.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not. In a way, we have just crossed the mountain, had a quick bit of rest, and it's time to start climbing again. And thus is the life of a student. Jesus' disciples may have also felt this way. As we read through the Gospels, we see large events, short rests, and then large events. And their lives are jam-packed. Read Mark.
Yeah.
The joke is Mark's the action-packed Gospel, so it's like boom, boom. One of the times I relate to them in early Jesus' ministry is in Mark chapter 4. Now, if you know anything about Mark chapter 4, it is the teaching chapter. Jesus is sitting by the Sea of Galilee, and a crowd of 1,000 come up upon him and back him up to the waters. And he's like, this is a perfect time to teach people. So he does this amazing thing, kind of a science experiment. He gets into a boat, he has them push him back a little bit, and it creates a natural amphitheater with the nature, so that his voice can be heard clearly over 1,000 people. It's crazy how just that space amplifies a little water into the people. And as he's, during this teaching, we get times, we get many parables. We get the parable of the sower, parable of the lamp, parable of the measures, the parable of the mustard seed. And these are spiritually forming for the people and the disciples. It's a lot of teaching. And we get to the end of that teaching. And Jesus says, you know what? We're in a boat. Let's cross a lake, the Sea of Galilee. The text reads, this is Mark 4:35 through 41. On that day when evening had come, he said to them, let us cross the other side. And leaving the crowd, they took with him the boat just as he was, and other boats were with him. Jesus just spent the day teaching and preaching, and he's plumb tuckered out. Jesus was 100% God, but he was 100% man, and then he got tired. And so he lays down and he decides to take a little nap. And as he naps, the disciples, they're sailing the boat across this sea, probably in like some sort of autopilot, because most of them were fishermen. Most of them lived in the Sea of Galilee. It was probably like no big deal. They're just like, yeah, this is what we do. It's like that time, you know that time where you're driving, and you're like, you get that realization that you're driving. It might have been a little bit like that. Most of them are fishermen by profession. So, the text says they come upon a great storm. as a furious squall came up and the waves broke over the boat so it was nearly swamped. The fact that these pro-fishermen were so scared of this storm, and the fact that the boat was being swamped, showed that this was no kiddie storm, but something unimaginable, a big tragedy and disaster. Continuing, Jesus was in the stern, sleeping on his cushion. The disciples woke up and said to him, "Teacher, don't you care that we are going to drown?" And he got up, rebuked the wind, rebuked the waves, said to them, "Quiet, be still." Then the wind died down and was completely calm. He said to the disciples, "Why are you so afraid? Do you still have no faith?" They were terrified and asked each other, "Who is this that even the wind and waves obey him?" Sometimes life hits us hard, and we are found fearing for our lives or thinking, "I'm not sure I can make it." Drowning. Events, tragedies, disasters happen. In our broken world, things can get dark. For the disciples, this was a great storm. In our lives, it could be something simple as a hurtful word said by a trusted friend, or a grade that just wasn't as great as you expected it to be. Or it could be sickness and even loss of loved ones. As students in Bible college, like the disciples, we can get into an autopilot. Yeah, classes get harder, but a lot of you guys are a semester in, a lot of you guys are more than a semester in. And as you go, you know what books to get in the library. You know what professors expect when you write papers for them. You know how to use your resources and talk to friends and professors if you need help. Things come easier and you get into an autopilot. And autopilot in a lot of ways is fine. I don't think the disciples were doing anything horrible by just doing their job that they did beforehand, sailing boats. But autopilots can be dangerous. And it can be dangerous when panic sets in and danger hits and we are blindsided by great storms. And we can try to bail all we can. But in the end, our boat starts to become swamped and panic sets in. Just like the disciples, a lot of us are brought to our knees, crying out to Jesus, saying, "Why? Why would you let this happen? Don't you care? Look at me. I'm drowning. Don't you care, Jesus? You're supposed to be with me." But we forget that Jesus was never not in our boat. He was back, relaxing on the cushion. In our autopilot, we are oblivious to his presence. That he was with us through that storm. This reminds me of another storm on the Sea of Galilee. 4, 5, 6. 2 more chapters down in Mark. The disciples went ahead of Jesus. They're sailing across the Sea of Galilee again. And they look out as water's getting rough and they see a man walking on the water and they think he's a ghost. And they call out and they're scared. And the man says, "Don't be afraid, I'm Jesus." And Peter says, "If you're Jesus, I trust you to call me out upon the waves." And so the text reads, Jesus calls him out, and Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came towards Jesus. But when he saw the wind and the waves, he was afraid and began to sink and cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" Jesus is more than just in our boat through the storms. And a lot of times, he's what's holding us up in the storms. And when we get into those tragedies and those hard spots, often we can be tempted to take our eyes off Jesus. And when we do that, we begin to sink, and the storm ends up consuming us. And we're left crying out to God. I'm not going to say that 2021 is going to be easier than 2020. I'm not going to say you don't have storms. But I'm going to say Jesus is in your boat. And in times of trouble, look to him. Amen.